All right. Hi, guys. I am here today because I got some books. If you saw the state of my apartment right now, we're about to do renos. Probably not the time to get more books, but I just couldn't help myself. Okay, so I'm going to start off. So basically, the story is I got some books from the library. They have kind of like one of those for sale things that's just like really cheap ones that people donate. And then I also got, I kind of like have this running list of books that I would love to get in like kind of as close to, first printings as I can, or just beautiful vintage editions. And so I kind of keep my eye out on eBay and wait for a really good deal and then strike on it. So there were a couple that I was able to get this summer that I'm really excited about. So I'm going to start first with the library books that I got. When I was there happened to just be like the sweetest woman ever, and she was a huge book nerd. And she was like giving me, I'm sorry, I'm putting like a dust jacket back on one of the books that I'm reading that I'm going to show in the hall. So when I was there, though, sweetest elderly woman, she was such a bookworm, and we were talking about books, and she kept like coming up with all these, being like, oh, have you read this? And I'd be like, yeah. And they were like books I really liked. And so she kind of gave some other recommendations based off of what was there. And so I went ahead and got some of those, and I'm excited to show you guys what I got. So the first one that I got is Abraham Vergis. I'm sorry if I can't pronounce it properly. Cutting for Stone. This, I believe, is a book about, I believe it's like a very sweeping like family saga. I believe it's very sad in nature, and that it follows two conjoined twins. And so that just sounds very interesting to me. The description, so something that you should know about me before I keep going is that I'm never gonna like fully flesh out every like plot detail about these books. When I'm reading a book, I love to go in blind. And so I don't want to know like every plot point, every detail. I just want to know enough to know that I'm interested. And, if I'm really not liking what I'm reading it, then it's okay to just DNF something. And so that's the way I prefer to read. And so when I'm giving you like, when I'm showing you, hey, this is what I got, like I'm not going to be, saying, okay, and it's about this and this and this and this and this. I'm just kind of just showing you what I got and letting you know what little I know about the book. I always look up Goodreads reviews before I get a book from like a thrift store or something. And that's not totally fair because like some of my absolute favorite books have like a 3.5 out of 5 stars, but I typically try and get books that have like a 4-star or higher. And there's books that I absolutely hated that have like a 4.5 star review, like The House in the Cerulean Sea. I literally hated that, and it has such a great review. So, you can't totally trust it, but generally that's the guideline I try and go by. And I think that this one had a really, really good review, or had a really good ratio of reviews. It was like 4 point something out of 5 stars. And so just the very start of the description here says, a sweeping, emotionally riveting first novel, an enthralling family saga of African and American doctors and patients, exile and home. And so, yeah, they are about twin brothers, I believe, conjoined, and how their life and family unfold. And so I'm very excited to dig into this one. The next book that I have here is one that I've had my eye on forever, and you regularly see them at the thrift store. It's nothing too special, but it's just a really good price at the library. It's like $1 or $2 for a hardback, and so I saw it and it was in really good condition. So I finally took the bait on this one. I've been kind of debating on it for a while, but this is The Paris Wife by Paula McLean. And this is a book, I believe, about Ernest Hemingway's first wife. And if you know anything about Ernest Hemingway, you know that he was kind of a jerk, just like not a good person. I believe he was also prone to alcoholism, and he had very turbulent relationships. And so I believe this is following his first wife, and like I think from her perspective about her life and romance with Ernest Hemingway, and then the subsequent downfall of that. And so I started to read A Movable Feast, and I never finished it despite really enjoying what I had read of it. And so I, Ernest Hemingway's A Movable Feast, and then this, which is just, I don't know if speculative fiction is the right word. I feel like I keep using that, and I'm not sure if it's the right word, but I'm like, this is like just speculative fiction. It's speculating about her life. So I'm just going to say speculative fiction, and if I'm wrong, whoops. So yeah, this is speculative fiction about his first wife's, life and their romance, and a deeply evocative story of ambition and betrayal. The Paris wife captures a remarkable period of time and a love affair between two unforgettable people, Ernest Hemingway and his wife Hadley. And, when you start reading A Movable Feast, it's so inspiring because it's talking about like Paris in the 1920s, and it just sounds like one of the most magical convergences of time and place ever, just like that beautiful, like it just, time and place aligned perfectly. And so I'm jealous that I will never get to experience that, but okay. The next book is The Known World by Edward P. Jones. The cover really drew me in, and I think mainly too, I saw the National Book Award finalist sticker. This says, Henry Townsend, a black farmer, bookmaker, and former slave, has a fondness for Paradise Lost and an unusual mentor, William Robbins, perhaps the most powerful man in antebellum Virginia's Manchester County. And I think it's kind of involving his life, his family, and such things. And so again, I don't want to know too much. I want to kind of be surprised as I'm reading. But this is a book that I'm very interested in reading and learning more about. And it sounds like a very interesting premise for a novel. So excited to get into this one. Yes. Next up, we have Dead Wake by Eric Larson. It says okay, I actually tried to film this just before filming this version, so I'm not going to like reread it again, but basically what this book is about is that in World War I in 1915, basically there's kind of like a understanding between the warring countries that like civilian ships were off limits, and Germany just said hell no to that, and they bombed a civilian ship which had a record number of women and children and infants on board, and it's one of the greatest naval disasters in history, and it's just really heartbreaking. And so I believe, again, if I'm using the wrong term, but you can understand what I mean. Like, I think this is speculative fiction. I should probably just look this up so that I'm not continually just saying that. Okay, so I was completely wrong. It's basically speculative fiction is things that take place not in this world and is like speculating about things that aren't of this world. Okay, so this is fiction, that is speculating about a real event. I believe. I don't think that it's directly nonfiction, but I could be wrong. Again, I don't know too much about it, but I heard amazing things about it, and this definitely seems totally up my alley. And I mean, like, look at all the notes. It's like 1/8 of the book is just notes. And so, yeah, this might actually, now that I'm looking through the chapter headings, this might just be like straight nonfiction, or it could just be fiction about the event itself. So we'll see. I guess I'll see as I'm reading. Another that I know for sure is nonfiction. This is by Catherine Boo, and this is Behind the Beautiful Forevers. And it says, a bewildering age of global change and inequality is made human through the dramatic story of families striving towards a better life in Anawadi, a makeshift settlement in the shadow of luxury hotels near the Mumbai airport. And so I don't exactly know what this is about, but it's obviously about the hardships of individuals living in these makeshift settlements, and I'm very interested to hear, especially about the disparity between it being so close to luxury hotels, and then this is their reality. And so I think this will be very heartbreaking. That's what I heard. But it's something that I think is really important to learn about. Here, this one's pretty simple. Folger's Shakespeare Library. There was one of this, Julius Caesar. And so I have collected, I think, like 5 to 7 of the Folder Shakespeare libraries, and so I didn't have this one, and it only had a few markups, so I thought that this was a good one to get. So I'm excited to dig into that at some point in my life. Okay, the next one that we have here is The Word is Murder by Anthony Horowitz. She said that this, this woman that was giving these recommendations, she just said that this was like a good detective novel, one that's nice to kind of cozy up to with a cup of tea. And, so my understanding is that this is about a wealthy mother of a famous actor. She enters a funeral parlor and she plans her own service. And then shortly after, she is found dead. And I think it's kind of like detective novel, whodunit? Did she kill herself? I would guess obviously not, because why would there be a book about it? But I think it's kind of like whodunit, who killed her. And so we'll see. But she said that it was actually good and it kept her guessing till the end. And so this sounds pretty good. Nothing too serious, but sounds like a good read, a solid read. The next is probably the one I'm the most stoked off of. This is Isabel Allende's The House of Spirits. I actually don't know too much what this is about, but I believe it's about a family. There's just a little bit here. It just says, it's a magnificent saga of proud and passionate men and women in the turbulent times through which they suffer and triumph. They are the Truebas, and theirs is a world where you will not want to leave and one you will not forget. And so I am super excited to read this. This was one that I actually kind of had on my list to be looking for like a cool vintage edition because I was really interested in reading it. But I found this, and so I figure if I really like it, I could always upgrade to like a nicer edition. But for some reason, I actually really like this paperback. I don't know what it is. It's like the coloring and like the sunset is kind of just like iconic to me. So maybe I won't end up upgrading it if I really like it. Okay, we're getting to the end here, folks, so no worries. Let me see what time we're at. Okay, so the next one that I have here is a Frederick Bachman book. He's the guy who wrote A Man Called Ove and also Beartown, which people really like. And so I have both of those. I found them at the thrift store, and this is another one of his books that I saw at a yard sale for like $1, and so I grabbed it. It's My Grandma Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry. This is one where I am not entirely sure that's a good one of his. I remember I was watching a channel and someone had like read all of his books and they were like raving about them, and I feel like this might have been the one that they were like, but I think that basically the plot is that there is Elsa and her grandmother, and they're like extremely close, and her grandmother's her only friend, and unfortunately her grandma passes away, and then she has these letters to kind of rectify relationships that she had and things that she had done wrong. And so her granddaughter is kind of tasked with like going around and posthumously rectifying these relationships by giving these letters. So that's my understanding. I think it sounds quirky and cute. I don't think it'll be anything too crazy. I just think it'll be a nice lighter read. And so, yeah, I'm excited. And honestly, the book is kind of sticky, and that's kind of concerning because I got it at a yard sale. Okay, the next ones here, I feel like I might have already showed in another haul. And so if I did, I'm just not going to include them when I'm editing. But I have here, so I got here the, gosh, I can't speak right now. It's the Neapolitan Quartet by Elena Ferrante. If you don't know, Elena Ferrante is a very interesting author. I think she also has another book that's called like something, My Days of Abandonment or something like that. That's also really popular, but this is her quartet, and I believe it mainly surrounds like female friendship, and it's a saga that spans, I think, like their families and drama surrounding them. I'm not entirely sure. Again, I like to go in more blind on those things, but this is interesting because as an author, Elena Ferrante, nobody knows what she looks like. Nobody knows who she is. A lot of people think that it's just like a pen name. A lot of people think it might be like a man writing as a woman, just as like a guy's kind of thing. But nobody's ever seen who Elena Ferrante is, and I find that very interesting. And so this definitely goes down as the absolute worst book covers in the history of the world. Like, are you looking at this cover? I'm like ashamed to own them. It's just like the spines are actually nice because they're like these like pretty shades of blue, but then you look at the covers and they're just like god awful. So anyways, we have Elena Ferrante's My Brilliant Friend, The Story of a New Name, Those Who Leave and Those Who Stay, and The Story of the Lost Child. And so these are, I believe, originally in Italian and translated to English. And so I'm excited to read those. I don't know if I've really read much by an Italian author, so I'm really excited. Okay, the next book that we have here is one that I've already started reading, and I'm about this much of the way through. This is The Thorn Birds by Colleen McCullough. This is a sprawling family saga that follows the Cleary family mainly, and also a priest named Father Ralph de Brisicart. And it takes place in the Australian outback in the early 1900s, and it talks about the challenges of that like extreme landscape, and there's the family dynamics. There's some elements that a lot of people would probably find uncomfortable. I just look at it as like it's not real, it's fiction, and I've read books with messed up things in them, so it's like I'm not gonna just put down the book because of it. But there are some things in this book that are challenging. But anyways, I just got this and I'm including it here because I haven't finished it yet, but it was one of the books that I had bought during the summer and I kept my eye out and finally splurged on. I wouldn't even say splurged. I found a really good deal on it, and people don't really care about this book anyways, so like it wasn't expensive to begin with. But yeah, I like the cover. I don't know. I like it a lot, and it's a chunky boy. It's a chunky boy for sure. And I'm really enjoying it so far, so might end up being one of my favorites. See? We'll see. The next is iconic, Joan Didion's The White Album. If you don't know, all things 60s and 70s are like my favorite. I love, like, my favorite music is from that time, fashion, and a lot of books that came out of that time I think are just so iconic. And Joan Didion, of course, is the greatest of them all. I am so sad that she passed away, and but her works are incredible, and the few that I have read, I really enjoyed. And so I'm excited. I'm really excited because this is a really beautiful vintage edition, and I got it for a really good deal. I haven't read this. I'm really interested in this and Slouching Towards Bethlehem. Those are the two I really would love to read from her, her collection of, or her, why am I blanking on the word, of the books that she's put out. And this is just a collection of essays, I believe, just surrounding like the politics and kind of like atmosphere of the time. I think like California and like hippie culture. This was released in 1979. So it says, in The White Album, Joan Didion focuses on the world in which she and we now live, examining those vibrations and fears that began in the late 60s, that age of self-discovery and belief in the possibility of change, whose spiritual center was California, Didion's homeland, and in fact and in spirit. And so, she's just so iconic. I'm really excited to read this. Again, I really want to read Slouching Towards Bethlehem, but I want to wait until I can like find a good deal on a vintage copy, but they're all so freaking expensive, so I'll be waiting a while on that one. And then the last one that I have here is really interesting. It's called Valley of the Dolls. Again, it was kind of like the It 60s book. And this is by Jacqueline Suzanne. And this is a picture of her on the back. Again, another beautiful vintage edition. It's got like the pills all over the front. And the hardcover also has like pills all over the front. And so this says, on top of Mount Everest, the bleak and gleaming summit of success that few people will ever glimpse, there is a nightmare world where sex is a weapon, love is a smiling mask of hate, and slipping youth and fading beauty are ever-present specters of disaster. This is the story of three gifted women on their climb to fame and wealth, and of the soul-crushing price that they pay for their precarious place on the mountain peak. And so that sounds so interesting to me, and I've heard a lot of people say, because there's like a really, again, iconic movie from the 60s with Sharon Tate, and it is of this book, but the movie's like, it's just iconic because of Sharon Tate. Unfortunately, she was one of the people murdered in the Manson massacres, and so, yeah, so she kind of became iconic in her own right, kind of like anybody who dies young and tragically that's famous, and so like I feel like it even more so blasted her into like that movie into like fame and stardom. Anyways, the movie is like so. The fashion in it is chef's kiss. But a lot of people said that the book is actually really, really good, and that the author herself actually went up to the director after she saw the movie and was like, "What? Like, this is terrible." And so I'm excited to get into this one. This seems like a real gem, and I'm just excited. And I love a beautiful vintage edition. It makes me so happy. So those are all of the books that I recently got. Yeah, I was being bad because I really don't need any more books. We're gonna be renovating our place soon, and yeah, I just didn't need to do that. But what can I say? What can I say? You know, the opportunity presents itself. Um, and so, anyways, I hope you guys have a great day. Please like and subscribe. It honestly really helps. It really helps this tiny little channel. And leave a comment. What was your favorite book? Have you read any of the ones that I have here? What's your thoughts on them? And I hope to see you around. So I'll see you next time. Bye.